But before your QE, you still absolutely have to take care of your grade and maintain a competitive level. And this is my first tip. And the second one is regarding time management. So my suggestion is to find a trustworthy teammate to share your study notes and also emotional support. And this will save your time and stay strong emotionally. So how to plan your timetable in a semester? This will sound obvious, but it's also easy to forget because we always want to prioritize the biggest proportion that takes the most of your grade evaluation. So for example, most courses in our school, in VKV, we require a final paper. Some courses even require one individual paper and one group paper. And that will take usually 30 to 6% of your overall grade. And that's a big proportion. So you want to devote most of your time working on this instead of, reading assignments or even classroom performances. That will usually takes about 5 to 10%. So it's not that important compared to your final papers. And of course, I know there are tons of reading assignments. Those mostly will contribute no more than 5% of your grade. So if you have to make a sacrifice, the benefit of contributing most of your time to essays and papers will absolutely offset some loss of class performance or reading assignments. And that was my second tip. And the third tip is regarding research note-taking. I believe in our school at Wikinwi, especially if you are already a research student or you hope to continue to do research in the future, reading and writing is the most single important tasks during your program. So when I first start writing papers, I always don't know when to stop literature review and actually start writing. The more I read, the more I feel I should read more. And it's a wrong decision again because time is limited. So deciding at which point you want to stop reading and actually start writing is important. So for me, if I am reading a normal paper, meaning that a paper that at the point I am reading, I don't know how much time I should be devoting to. For these papers, I will first go through abstracts, and then I go to the conclusion, and then go to the findings. And if I find them interesting, then I go to the methods. So it's the reverse order of a true paper actually goes. And regarding how to take note, one technique that I learned from Dr. Jordan Peterson, he's a psychologist at the University of Toronto. So he suggests that when you read a paper, the moment you feel something sparks you, you should write them down, your thoughts immediately, because we want to minimize your reaction time between reading something and your note taking. We don't want to rely on our short memory because if you think, oh, I will summarize my thoughts later, you won't. You will forget your thoughts because our brain always want to take the lazy route, and it's not that reliable in terms of short-term memory. So we want to take notes of our thoughts while reading as much as possible and as quickly as possible. And in fact, this will also help you. It will force you to actively develop your thoughts and put them into writings instead of inefficiently reading and passively reading a paper. And that will never get you a paper out of your own writing. And you can use some note-taking apps. For me, I use Notion, Notion. You can create content blocks that will help you to organize your workflows and even to frame your ideas. So for example, before you write, during you read a paper, you can constantly ask yourself these questions. And these questions can be a template already existed in your note-taking app. For example, the first question you ask is, how is this research related to my research? And if you answer yes to this question, then you ask yourself, which piece of information in this paper can actually support my idea. So you always want to prioritize your own idea instead of what other scholars are saying, because otherwise you will get overwhelmed by the huge amount of information, and it will take million years before you get a actual paper out of yourself. So that was the 3 tips that I shared. I hope you find them helpful. Thank you very much. I'll get back to Chen Lu.
Okay, thank you so much for the sharing. And yeah, these 3 tips are really important for us for the not only master degree or PhD degree. So anyone has question, you can like raise up your hand. I will invite you to ask. Okay, actually, I do have a question. Like you already help us to recommend an app for the research note arrangement. May I ask, do you have any app or recommendation for the time management?
I know some students prefer I forgot the name. It's a 20 minutes writing, 20 minutes working.
Oh, 20 minutes coin, right?
Yeah, it's Promonto or something like that.
Okay.
It's a you can customize the time duration. It can be 20 minutes or 25 minutes working, and then you rest for about 5 to 10 minutes. I think that's a good idea, but I won't limit myself within that, 20 or exactly 20 minutes or 15 minutes. Yeah, so if you find yourself you're in a flow, you can follow that flow. It can take, for me, I find I can focus for about 40 minutes before I realize I kind of lose my focus. I want to take a break. So it can be flexible. So for calculating the time, I'm not that specific.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I noticed that you have a study note in your own blog, right?
Yeah. That blog was for me to force me to put something out there, even though it's a study note. So because sometimes we don't want to actually write. We all have that period. We only want to consume contents. And one technique I also learned is that while I'm reading, this is based on the assumption that you know this is an important paper. This is not for random papers.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you find this an important paper and you know you will get back to it over and over again during like your PhD candidature, it's like a highly cited paper, then you want to take notes of it. So my way of taking note is to put it on my personal blog, so that whenever I want to take a look, I can go back to the blog and see how I organized the paper. Actually is not that difficult. I think there's only one paper I highly cited over and over again, and that paper I take out the structure of the paper, meaning the headlines, the subheadlines, and the important points
It's like
onto
your
my personal
template.
blog. Yeah, it's like when I go back to this paper, I need to check what the author says. I won't go back to the paper because there's the ideas are here and there anywhere, and I take notes. If I take notes, I will highlight them using red, blue, and yellow and different colors, and it's a mess, So I don't like go back to the paper. I will go to this either can be on my personal blog or on my note-taking app. It's Notion. So in this, the reason I do it on the blog or on the app is because I can search by keywords. For example, I only want to know something related to interactive advertising. Then I will key in the keyword interactive, and I can locate the places where I think that's useful. Not the place. You can also absolutely search in the paper, but it can show all the everything related to interactive advertising, but some of them may not be useful to myself. And I already filter the information based on my note.
Okay, that's really
Yeah.
interesting. I will definitely try.
Yeah.
And the last question from me is like, I think the most of the issue for the PhD is like we read a lot of papers from like different discipline or different research topics, but it's really hard to organize. I mean, if I use the EndNote and can put a title or subtitle, but it's very roughly measurement.
Yeah.
So do you have a better way to help us?
Yeah, I think one way that I learned from a YouTuber, his name is Ali, and he suggests that instead of passively taking notes or organizing your note, that's still someone else's idea. So you want to test whether you have already understand it. The way he does it is he actively recall the information. So for example, he read a paper and then
Yes.
the moment he finished the paper, he will keep notes of what he can think of, what he can recall without looking at the paper. So he will force himself to recall what he had read. And that's one technique he think is useful. And also he found some evidence-based papers that show that active recall is the best method in terms of memorizing information compared to highlighting and rereading. We know we all enjoy highlighting papers using different kinds of colors, and
Yes.
yeah, it's very, in some ways, very therapeutic, and we enjoy it. It's just such a enjoyment, but it's not good for in terms of memorizing the information.
Yeah. So the next speech must give us how to use YouTube properly. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the talk. We
Thank
move to
you.
the next speaker. Thank you so much for the sharing.
Thank you, Chenlu.
Yeah. The next speaker is from School of Social Science and major in psychological. Her research direction is brain plasticity and some kind of word that I'm not familiar with. So let's welcome Hikrit. Hikrit, are you there?
Hello, yes, I am here.
Okay. Do you have any
Yes,
PowerPoint
yes.
you can read over
Let
me?
me share it. Okay. Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I am here actually with my another member from our club, Ase. She is my senior, and she definitely has more experience. But you will hear me talk most of the time, and I hope she will keep me in check and assist me if you have questions during the QA. So first of all, welcome to everyone, and congratulations on your admissions. So I prefer this. So my colleague, she did a good job giving the tips. Mine is more kind of maybe practical tips on the life on campus and life in Singapore. Maybe you will come across and then find them helpful. So I will start first introducing our club. So we have executives and subject representatives, and why the club might be a good help for you and important to know, because I'm sure you are already going through the administrative thing and the club. So because there are different departments, and although there are common rules and regulations, depending on each department, they operate on different terms. So it will be definitely helpful for you to get help from the subject representatives and ask them to guide you if you're unsure about any administrative stuff. Because for me, the hardest, the more surprising thing was the density of the requirements, especially for first 1.5 year. Especially, for the locals, they are probably already used to the system, but for international students like myself, I think it's a really kind of harsh discovery. So But I mean, it's kind of a tough love, right? And so they kind of just push you to the pool, and then you have to learn how to swim. So it will be definitely dense. But you are already well educated and made a conscious decision to start your either master's or PhD. So you already kind of know what to expect, I think. I am just saying, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just saying we will be here to help you, hopefully, to make it easier. So there is this office for graduate students of social sciences, and it's called temporary office. But I think both you and I will graduate before we move on to a permanent place. And it's a nice office, don't get me wrong. Like, there is a nice cubicle, you will be assigned a nice desktop, and it is free of any professors or any administrative stuff. So we will be by just ourselves. So it's really nice. The only problem maybe why it is temporary, because the building is detached from the social science building, and the closest way to the building is a steep staircase. I think it has around 110 something steps. So it is kind of for physically enabled. Of course, it's not nice, but for the ones who are physically capable, maybe it's a nice little exercise. But of course, now with all the virus things, you need to have that detour, blah, blah. But I'm talking about in the normal terms. So you can ask during the administration, once you're in the school, you can ask to be assigned for the cubicles, and if there is a space, you will be allocated one. If not, they will give you still a space in the common work area. So for the research facilities, we have computer labs, study labs, libraries. They're really good. But for the labs, if, for example, because I am doing neuroscience, and for the neuroscience labs, things are a little bit trickier, but I won't go into detail too much. If any of you are coming for the neuroscience, you can ask me about it and I can give more details. For the life on campus, the canteens are really good and they are widely spread. So, basically there is this two main buildings, North Spine and South Spine. So you just, and everything is between those buildings or around them. And it usually takes 20 minutes. That's one of those discoveries that I made the first time when I asked the locals if I'm in the South Spine, like I need to go to the North Spine. So they were really sorry for me. Oh, like it's so far away. And I thought it's maybe 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, but it just turned out to be 20 minutes walk. But to my Singaporean friends' credit, because it is so hot, so people prefer not to walk. So that's why they think it's far away. Oh, on that note, because it is so hot, you wouldn't maybe think of bringing any jacket or something like that, but I advise you to do so because there are air cons everywhere, which is good, but because it is always in such a high temperature, I can say, or low temperature, so it gets really cold. So you need your jacket, especially for the buses. It is strange. It always gives me migraines, so I'm sorry to say. So I prefer walking. Anyway, so everything is, accessible within 20 minutes walk, I would say. And the cool thing is, the campus is really lovely, and all the buildings are connected to each other. It actually takes a while to figure out how to navigate your way because, of course, Google can't see inside the buildings. So either follow the group of people walking or simply ask them and they will just guide you in the right direction. And soon enough, you will figure out the different ways the buildings connect and the shortest cut. So for the accommodation, of course, there are lots of halls, but for graduate students, I think they will mostly allocate you to the graduate hall if you are granted a hall accommodation. If not, within campus accommodation. If not, there are also options outside of the campus. Again, you can ask more if you need help on that. For the there are two different shops that you can do your grocery shopping. For the recreation, yes, there are like both student clubs and then the sports field. And for the transportation, there is this in-campus line, free, yay. But they go in all different directions. But like, I mean, of course, because it's hot, so you can't walk all the time. So it's actually, the transportation is quite nice. It will be easy to get around. And there is banking and everything. So the campus has everything. And during the lockdown time, I realized that, like, okay, this tells more about me, but basically I think I didn't leave campus for 3 months. Yeah, so I could basically just live in the campus without needing anything for going out, except for the, of course, leisure activities, but it was on the lockdown, so there was nothing to do. So the life in Singapore is, the internet connection is really good. The public transportation is easy. You will figure it out easy because it has really nice system, nice connections between the buses and MRTs. And your student card is magical because the school also prefers this the like no cash policy. So for everything, you can, especially within the campus, you can buy your food, use it in the canteens, then also for printing and also to get into bus and out. So, but then also you can use them for the MRT and the buses to go to the city. So it's really nice. But of course, you shouldn't lose your card, or you shouldn't put too much money in it, because yeah, then that will be upsetting. So for the leisure activities, actually, it's kind of also interesting. It was for me at the beginning, because whenever I ask, so depending, of course, everyone's idea of fun is different. So depending on what you are looking for, I am not sure whether you will be happy with Singapore or not. For me, I like nature, so I was happy. I'm still happy. But the thing is, when I ask about what to do in the Singapore for the nature-wise, people usually just advise me to go to the like either Malaysia, Indonesia. And at the beginning, I was surprised, but then now I understand, because although Singapore also has lots to offer with the nature reserves and parks, but when you have, because it is a small country, right? So you will be here for a long time. So it is easy to kind of discover the points. And then unless you have favorite spots, emotional bonding, it's better to have the wider experience throughout Asia. But of course, now I don't know when we will be able to travel again. Hopefully soon. Hopefully during your stay here. So these are the kind of the fun part, things you can do solo, right? But as a group, and then when you need a short, instead of time for huge planning, because probably you won't have too much during your studies. So for the fun little leisure time, we try to do it together with the club. And the club is all, of course, not only for the making you relax and happy, but also it is just to provide additional sources with the conferences and the workshops. Of course, now we are also in a new normal, so probably these things will be online for a while. So we are also trying to navigate and figure out how to make it fun in the best way. So we have events planned, workshops, which we will provide more information when the time comes. You will receive them by email. And of course, you can also be part of the club and join us to make this page the graduate.
Okay, thank you so much for the sharing. And so anybody has questions, you can press your hand button to raise your hand, and I can pick you to answer questions. Okay, Hector, I'm quite curious which library you like most. if I remember it correctly, we have 8 libraries in our campus, right?
Yes. Oh, good question. I mean, of course, so some libraries are really good for the just finding the book you are looking for or the study material, but the other libraries are good for the comfortness of it, the nice couch or the
Okay.
study area. So I am more into this kind of leisure, comfortable part, and for that, mostly, I mean, because we also have a campus in Novina, right?
Mhm.
So it's actually, I mean, it's not directly within our campus, but for social sciences, I think the libraries in the Hive is also good, nice in that sense, because you also have a nice view and then the nice sitting area. It's more like friendly environment. Sometimes this VNAM is mostly too serious. Everyone is really working too hard, which makes me
You
depressed.
you mean live in a library, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay. And another question is,
Sure.
I'm majoring in triple E, so for us, our experiment, our research must rely on the certain equipment. But if I didn't misunderstand, I think like researchers from social science, they may just need a computer to do their research, right?
So, I mean, that's why it depends on what, for example, because mine is neuroscience, right? So I need MRI, TMS, EEG, MEG, and all sort of stuff. And usually that's why I said it's more complicated. So we don't have it within the social sciences, of course. So we use the facilities from either medical school or the Novina campus, and then kind of use all the buildings, whatever might work for you. So if
Okay.
we are having lectures for statistics, we go to the engineering faculties, we have the classes there. If we are, of course, like if the courses are about the brain imaging techniques, we go to the medical school. So for depending on although it's under social sciences, so depending on your courses, you use the other faculties maybe more than the social sciences building, which was the case for me.
Yeah, okay. So what I really want to ask is what affects you most during the lockdown period?
Oh, okay. Okay. So, uh, good. Okay. So the thing is, I think I am. Is it the word ambivert? So I am both introvert and extrovert at the same time. So I think I could activate my introvert side on the lockdown. So I didn't honestly get affected too much. But what would I really don't know. Because also it was the period for me to write my QE. So it, of course, not to be able to travel, right? This is the first one. So because, like I said, the Singapore is really in a really nice spot within the Asia. So it really gives too much opportunities to discover the Asia. So it was a shame that I couldn't get to travel during this time.
Yeah, I think until this year is really hard for us to get a travel.
Yes, 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 yes. Oh, and also I was like after, because like I said, the first 1.5 year is so intense, and also my home country is so far away. So I plan to go home after the completing this QE, and going there with a relaxed mind. But of course, because of the lockdown, now I don't know when I will be able to go. So probably before I can go home, it will be almost 2 years, 2 years or
Wow.
more. So yeah, that's also not nice. But at least I am finding the silver linings within everything. So I think I am lucky that I enjoy the life in campus. All I can say.
Okay. Yeah, I just noticed that SO is your senior, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
She will sharing her PowerPoints, or actually she's sharing with you.
Yeah, actually, if because she is more experienced. So I thought if anyone has, because also as you can see, I don't really, mine is more, neuroscience is more specific topic. So I don't really know about all other social sciences, how the system works. So I was thinking if any students have any particular questions on that, like how it works, or they are curious about some specific issue, then Asya would be able to help me answer it.
Okay. I think since she currently didn't show up, I think if we get any we have any question, we can like ask her by the email, and then
Yeah,
we
of
will.
course. Oh, and then I can try to reply as well, like if there are
Yeah,
anyone.
yeah.
So I can actually, I am sure that you are already looking through the websites and everything, but you can see, let me send the link. So this is for the club members, all the emails and everything. So you can, if you have more questions, you can ask me from there. Oh, also maybe another tip, rather than, I mean, okay, I will stop because I have too much, maybe little
Okay.
life hack tips, but I can just share them if they want. I don't want to bombard the students with it.
Okay,
Hi guys,
sure.
I'm actually here. This is Estelle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I mean, just to sort of, sorry, I was just, listening. I do have one thing to add to what Hikret said about the experience of the School of Social Sciences PhD students and master students during the lockdown. So, because you're right, the nature of most people's research is that we don't really need access to labs, except maybe for the neuroscience people and the econs people who are doing experiments. So a lot of people who are doing online questionnaires and surveys, and or they may be at the literature review stage of their candidature, people would mostly work on their laptops or computers or whatever. But because we have assigned desktops at the office, our school actually allowed us to sign those out. So we could bring the desktops and whatever software was installed on those desktops to our residence, the places of residence. So we actually were given an opportunity to use the data and the software that we needed to analyze that data at home. So what I'm trying to say is that the school is actually trying to create the conditions and sort of adjust to this strange time and give us the opportunity to be flexible, because obviously the fewer people come into the office, the better. So whoever wanted, they could sign out the computer and just continue working from home. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, would you mind I start to like introduce you briefly?
Sure.
I'm sorry, here is Esa from School of Social Science. She majors in public policy and global affairs. So do you have something to share?
Well, to be honest, there's not much, specific to this particular program.
Yeah,
But I'm guessing one of the things that people from most schools would know is that they would have to sit a qualifying examination within 18 months of the start of their candidature. So in the first year, in the first 12 months, they will do a certain amount of coursework as required by the school. So it's usually 6 subjects. And then after that, in 18 months, they would have to do, as in 18 months after the start of the program, it's the qualifying exam. And I guess my advice is to do this. So 2 modules in the public policy and global affairs program specifically are on quantitative and qualitative research methodologies. So what a lot of people do is they start doing literature review and preliminary quant stats and just an overview of the field for their particular topic, so that by the time their qualifying exam arrives, they already have something on their hands. So I do know that what a lot of people do is they just do the coursework in the first year, and then there's not enough time to do qualifying exam prep. So it's always a good idea to start thinking, reading, and preparing some sort of framework as you do the coursework. So basically use the coursework to frame your thoughts and maybe even present some of the preliminary plans that you want to do in your qualifying exam in the coursework, in the course of the actual modules. So that's kind of what I would recommend, because yeah, a lot of people start freaking out because they realize they don't have much time left. So it's good to plan, and by planning is with planning, what's also useful is to make use of the resources that the school gives you as much as you can, in terms of the modules, for example, yeah, and the time you're given. So that's kind of what I have to say based on my own experience and the experience of some other people from the program.
Yeah, okay. So actually, I think you already answered the question from the chat box, right? Like during this special period, what we will be the platform or channels for new students to get to know others in there, and some advice from the seniors.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I mean, during this special period that we have to do everything online. So what will be the platform or channels for new students to get know others, and how to get the advice from the seniors?
So, so Hikret mentioned the structure of our student club, which is probably the structure of most student clubs on campus. We have subject representatives. So for example, as a public policy and global affairs subject representative myself, I did get a couple of emails from incoming students with questions. And they contacted me through the website. They found the email on the website, and then they also reached out to the graduate student coordinator from our school, and she redirected their queries to me. So the best way to sort of get to know your peers and learn more about the program is to contact us, because those are our lived experiences. You know, we'll probably know a bit more in some aspects of the program than the administrative staff. So that's one thing. And then another thing, because the period of the strict measures has ended, so you actually can come to the office. You know, provided that your cubicle isn't next to someone who's already there. So you have to sort of regulate this thing by contacting the admin people. But it's recommended that maybe you come in to the office and then, you know, meet up with subject reps and say hi and maybe ask questions. Again, you know, adhering to the social distancing measures and wearing a mask and everything.
Also to add, maybe for their own peers, unfortunately, yes, they won't be able to see them within the classroom. But mostly, I think probably I said it's the same for you. For the courses that I take, they usually ask for group works. So you will maybe not be able to meet them from the beginning, but for sure, soon enough, you will have these groups for the coursework. So through online meeting, you will have the more opportunity to get to know each other, and then maybe just form a group to help with your studies.
Okay. Thank you so much for the sharing. Anyone has a question? You can raise your hand or type in the chat box. Okay, if not, I would like to have your feedback survey by scanning the QR code on the screen. Can you see?
I'm sorry, we can't so far. So maybe.
Oh, okay. Can you see on the screen that the QR code? And
yes, now it's
okay,
on.
okay. So please scan the QR code to give us the feedback survey, and always feel free to contact us by the email here. Also, we have our official website on the full-length social media, so please follow us. And if you have any question, you can still message us or send an email to the speakers. Thank you so much for coming. Then everyone can turn your camera on. We will have a picture for today's event. Thank you, Great.
Hello, hi. It's good to see you. Or maybe we can wait for more people. So can you?
Yeah, just press the camera button to turn on your camera.
This can be also one of the tips. You need to get used to the
Yeah.
getting photos taking off. Because there will be lots of events or situations where they will ask for the photos, right?
Is it Evan there? I saw that one. Who is turn on the camera before our events? So maybe you can turn on now. Okay, so if not, then we just take the screenshot here. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for your cooperation. Then if you have any questions, you can just email us by the email address. So we put in the chat room, then we can forward your question to the suitable person. Thank you. So you can keep an eye on our social platform for the upcoming events. So when the situation is allowed, then the orientation subcommittee will organize some of the barbecue on the beach or the city tour, that kind of events. So looking forward to that. Hope to see you guys soon, face to face later. Thank you guys for coming today.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.